What's up, everybody? Roche here with Everyday Gaming, doing a top 8 deck profile for Argent Saga. I got 6th place at the Sunday Regional at GenCon, playing Gillian, Sola, blue light. Deck's real fun. It's a spell control deck. I liked it better because it has a lot of good tempo matchups. It can handle aggro real well, and also it gives you a lot of plays to the mid to late game. I like Gillian just getting you free cards, and I really fell in love with blue spells because I think the spell engine for blue is just really strong. So without that, I'm gonna get into the deck profile. I'm gonna go through what I played, the different units, different spells, a couple of little different combos. So yeah, like I said, it is Gillian and Sola as the champion spirit. I'll do the shard deck first. It's pretty standard. Again, I played 3 Hallowed Crystal, the light special shard, and 7 regular shards. Pretty standard. You just play whatever special shard goes with your spirit, because if it comes up, it comes up. Unit-wise, I'll start with the low drops. I didn't play a 1-drop unit in this deck, for the simple fact that I wanted to see Phantom Guardians as my turn 1 play every game, so I just didn't find a need for the room for a 1-drop, and none of the 1-drops for blue or white really did it for me. So I ended up skipping out on the 1-drops to focus more on my late game, because I think the late game is where this deck really shines. So a lot of your early game, as you'll see, is just a lot of Guardians and a lot of spell pressure. So to that effect, 2 drops, 3 Azure Guardian. Pretty simple, 2k Guardian. It forces a lot of decks because in the early game they can't really hit that 2k number, so they start having to stop attacking because they're just going to lose their units for free, or they have to start doing wasting spells that they don't want to. So it did what it was supposed to do. So definitely like the card. But then as the second 2-drop, I went with double Phalanx. Again, it's a Guardian. It's 15k, so it's a little bit easier for it to trade with. But the reason I liked it is because it also had the ability to hit towers, and being a Guardian that in the early game was just able to play, hit a tower, and then end phase stand it with Sola, so that way it could go on the defensive. It really proved to do what it was supposed to do. It's a great 2-drop, and it again, it kills every tower, so definitely earned its spot in my 8 light cards. 3 drops. 3 drops are actually the most important for this deck because it's the turn where you can start swinging the curve and try to push towards the late game. So I started off with 2 Wavebender. This card's just really good. On the Rive, it bounces a unit, so it can set your opponent back a turn, because the turn 2 and 3 for your opponent is where they start trying to establish their good attackers. So if you put them a turn behind by bouncing that attacker away, it really helps you just, again, force your turns to the later game, which is what your deck wants to see. Card I was testing for the weekend, it was just legal on Saturday. It was a promo at GenCon. I played 2 Ash. Ash I liked as an option, as a lot of hype was for the Roche Liam Kyte deck, the light air. Which is all about hitting that 1500 number so you can destroy towers with every attack. This card makes your tower that you put a counter on every time you play a blue spell up by 500 defense. So it turns your 15k towers into, or 1500 towers into 20. So now your opponent's attacks with especially with the aggro decks, aren't destroying towers as often. And so it forces them into a lot of bad situations, which again helps you get to that late game that you want to see. So it was good in theory. I didn't really get to see it that often in tournament, so I have to test it a little bit more to see how I like it. I think it was good in the main deck for best of 1s. For best 2 out of 3, I might side it instead. But, card's still worth testing. The heart and soul of the deck in the 3 engine is Mayu's Assistant. This is the card that you just want to see at every point in the game. You just want it on the board. It makes all of your blue spells, which we do play, you'll see we play abundance of, cost 1 less. So you just get free value out of all your shards. Anytime you have open shards with this card up, it can change it from being able to activate 1 spell on your opponent's turn or 3. So it lets you just, again, keep pushing that game state and making it so your opponent has to threaten you with more things that they actually have. So definitely one of my favorite cards of the deck, and the linchpin of the way the deck is supposed to run. Onto 4-drops. There was actually no real 4-drops in the blue blue or white that I really liked as far as how this deck is supposed to play. So I ended up going with something just very simple in the 4 engine and playing 3 Silver Watchwoman. This card turned out to be really good, as it's just a 4-drop that when you place it that turn it breaks a tower or kills a unit. And anytime you see it in the late game, it's like, okay, now you have a point where you can like push towers with what you have on field, and if your opponent thinks they're safe, even though they're like, okay, I got all their attacks, all my towers are destroyed, and then you just drop this and attack for game, and like if you just have a blue spell open, like you can just win the game on that turn. So I really liked it. It was a great addition to this deck. We were only playing 1 at first. The fact that it went up to 3, I think, really helped me in the regional. So I definitely really love this card going forward, especially in decks that don't have a good dedicated 4 engine. Onto my 5s. This one's pretty self-explanatory for anyone who's done any research into water. This is Akuma Juggernaut. It's a 5-drop Guardian, 3k, and whenever it guards attacks, it restands itself. And then it can also Shard Drain 1 to make it untargetable by your opponent's card effects. So it can just do crazy things where it's like, okay, if your opponent has 2 1500 attackers out, it's going to block both attacks and take both their units down with it. There's a couple cool tricks with the spell engine that you'll see where this card actually can just destroy a turns. Like your opponent literally almost has to pass or wait until they get cards to do something to this card. So again, it's one of my favorite cards in the deck. It's definitely one of the reasons I decided to play water for this event, is I just like this card and this concept with the spells. Onto the 6-drops. I played 4 for the event. Played double Stormcaster. Pretty self-explanatory for anyone who's played any of the intro deck tournaments. He's a destroyer. On arrive, if there's a water tower destroyed on either player's field, it bounces 2 units to the bottom of the deck. So like it lets you clear your opponent's board for basically nothing. And then just the ability to destroy 2 towers. Solid 6-drop. Did what it was supposed to do. I might cut it down to 1 going forward, but I did like it at 2 for this event. Then your 2 legendary 6-drops. Twilight Knight, I'm not going to go too much into it. It's probably the best card in the game right now. Gotta play it. And Mayu Grand Sorceress. This card is just really good. On arrive, you add a spell from your graveyard back to your hand, and then the next spell you play costs 0. So like a lot of the combos would be like you play it and get any spell back that you needed, or Tidal Rush, or Serpent's Breath, and then you Shards a Winter for free. So it's like it's a 4-cost spell for free that like rests your opponent's entire board, so your attacks just go through that turn. So, and then anytime you Shard Drain, I always forget her second effect because I never really use it. Return target units top of deck. Probably useful. Never comes up for me, but we'll see if it does coming forward. Last, I played the 7-drop Water Legendary Leviathan. Great card. It's a Guardian, 4k. On arrive, it just takes a unit from your opponent's board permanently, and then it's a destroyer. So, pretty self-explanatory. It's a good card. I played it to help curve out. When you see it in the late game, it can just end a game because there's times where you just take it. It takes, like, if your opponent left an attacker up, or if they, like, played something their last turn and was expecting to kill you with it, next turn you take it and then just hit them with it. So, that's it for the units. It's 23 units. Yeah, I played 42 cards total, so I played 23 units and 19 spells. So now we're going to go into the spell engine. So for the spell engine, again, it's very important for this deck. I'll explain a little bit of what Gillian did. What her effect is you can exhaust her to reveal any number of spells from your hand. Then you reveal the top card of your deck, and if it's a spell with cost of less than the card you reveal, you add it to your hand. What that became really good for is you can actually trigger it before your turn 1 untap. So you can actually, if you're going first, if you hit on it, start with 6 cards in hand. And if you go second, you start with 7. And yeah, you give your opponent a little bit of information, but like because of the way this deck plays, the information really doesn't matter that much because now your opponent just knows how many different things they have to play through, and a lot of times it's more stressful for them than it is a detriment to you. So we played a high spell count. I played at 19. This number fluctuates between 19 and 21 depending on how many I built with, but this one I went with 19 just to play pretty simple. The MVP, and like I said, like the best 1-cost spell in the deck is Phantom Guardians. I love seeing this card early. It lets you basically mitigate your tower destruction on the early game. In a lot of the aggro decks that exist right now, that's really important because they can't just deal with like chump blockers in the early game. So you can just keep towers up, and where they're kill turn on like turn 4 or 5, you're still at 3 or 4 towers if you could open this card. So I love it. I like to see it. Sometimes I'll mulligan just to get to this card. I don't even care what the rest of the hand is, just because I want to see it, especially like if I know the matchup. So, and again, I may use Assistance out. The card's free, so free two blockers is pretty nice. Second water spell, 1 cost, is Serpent's Breath. It's one of the best defensive cards in the game. It's a 1 cost that just bounces a 2-drop or less, and then the person who controls the 2-drop draws a card. But then you can also Shard Drain to bounce any unit to the top of a deck. This comes up because, like, obviously it stops 2 attackers at any situation, but there's also situations where it's like, you'll bounce your opponent's card and then bounce one of your own cards so you get the draw. So that came up a lot, and there's situations where it's like, you'll bounce, like, you'll attack with Silver Watchwoman and have shards open, and then your opponent will take it, and you bounce bounce one of their cards, bounce Silver Watchwoman to your hand, recast Silver Watchwoman, and attack with it. So like, there's just a lot of situations that a card can do defensive and offensive tricks. And again, it's 1-cost spell. If you have Mayu's Assistant, it becomes a 0-cost defensive disruption, which is really nice. The last 1-cost spell I played, it was a 1-of. I played Brilliant Barrier. This card actually combos off. There's its basic effect is really good. It prevents damage to a unit for the entire turn. So it's good if there's something you're really trying to keep up and your opponent just keeps attacking into it. It's like, okay, I'm just going to keep this thing alive. The other combo with it is if you have a Juggernaut out, what you end up doing is you block an attack and you Brilliant Barrier the Juggernaut so he cannot take damage that turn. So every time he restands after he guards, he literally can guard all of your opponent's attacks that turn. So they literally just have to spell to hit him. And if they try to spell to hit him, you just Shard Drain to make it null. So it's a cute combo. I only played this as a 1-of because there was just other light cards I wanted to play. But it did come up once or twice where I was able to just be like, okay, yeah, Brilliant Barrier, the Juggernaut, you can't attack me this turn. So that was really good. Really like that. It's a good 1-of. On to the 2 costs. We played 3 Omega Magic Mizu. I love the card for its versatility. It's 2-cost spell that you get to choose one of 3 effects. It's either draw a card, exhaust a unit, or return an exhausted unit to the owner's hand. If you have 2 or less active towers on field, you get to do 2 of the 3. So it's like early game, you can just, block 1 attack or draw a card if you just really need to see something. But it really shines in the end game where, again, you're going to either block 2 attacks that turn or block an attack and draw a card. And then again, off of Mayu's Assistant, making this a 1-cost spell for 2 effects just becomes infinite value. So another good blue spell. Love the blue spells. The other light cards we played, Double Holy Slash, simple card, just insta-cast, destroy an attacker. I like this card a lot because so many of my cards bounce attackers or bounce cards to your opponent's hand. This card, I just wanted something simple that destroyed something that like could just clear attackers instead of like resetting them. It's really important for matchups like the any of the dark decks because all the arrive golem effects, you really don't want to reset those. You just want to clear them off the board. So Other 2 of 2 spell Omega Magic Hikari. This card was actually pretty bonkers. It's a 2 cost instacast, puts a 1000 Knight Guardian token on field, and if you have 2 or less towers remaining, it puts 2 on the field. So what I ended up doing, like, obviously the inherent ability to just drop it on your opponent's turn and get 1 to 2 Guardians, so the chump block attacks is nice. But what I also found is, like, in the end game, what it allowed me to do is, like, use it on my opponent's end turn and, like, put 2 attackers on the field, so when I drew, like, if there is still a fire tower or a wind tower still up, I can just attack with a token and know, okay, well, they are going to have to pop the other token, and then if I have any other attackers, I win that turn. Or they together kill any of the 1500 towers, which is nice. So I really like the card. The card did a lot of work. Originally, I was playing 2 Brilliant Berry and 1 of this. I ended up changing this for the regional because I thought this card had a lot more utility in the early game than Brilliant Barrier. So definitely looked out to pay off in the tournament that I played. 3 cost spells. Arguably, probably the best spell in the deck is Title Rush. It's instacast, 3 cost. It bounces a unit to hand, and then I draw a card. So unlike Serpent's Breath, where the owner draws a card, I just draw the card every time. And then it Shard Drains 1 to bounce a unit to top a deck. Also good because it's not resetting to hand. I found there were situations where it's like, okay, I have to, like, Serpent's Breath, but I don't really want to, like, return a unit to their hand. I would rather them not be able to recast it that turn. So this card does a lot of work. And again, if you have Mayu's Assistant out, this card becomes a 2 cost, which is, again, just a lot of value. It's blocking 2 attacks for cost of 2 or 3. Even 3 is still fine for this. And then the cost of a Shard Drain, which, if your deck is doing what it's supposed to do, you should be seeing turns 6, 7, 8 even. So the Shard Drain doesn't start to matter at that point because you're just going to out-resource your opponent because you're going to keep getting cards back off of Gillian. So... And last but not least, the 2 4-cost spells that I played. 1 Charge the Winner. Again, great defensive card, and also the great offensive card. It just costs 4, instacast, rest your opponent's entire board. Obviously, it lets you go off when your opponent has a bunch of Guardians on the field. You just go, okay, rest your entire board, attack for game. Or in the opposite situation, your opponent has 4, 5, 6 attacks that turn, and you're going, okay, let me take care of the ones that are on the board, rest them all. Now you have to replay things with quickness to kill me that turn. So, pretty good 1 of. I would probably play it at 2 of going forward, but I just definitely like it as the 1 of for the event. And my last 1 of, Finishing Ray. Another card that's self-explanatory. It helps you recover when you are far behind. It's just play for 4, destroy the board. So if you start falling behind a tempo matchup, like, you can just let your Guardians die and then blow their board. So definitely helped you swing the game back in your favor. So that's it. Again, I played 19 spells, 23 units, 42 card deck. Deck's a lot of fun. I like it. It's definitely different than a lot of what we're seeing right now. I'm not playing Kyte. I like Sola. Sola gives you a lot of option. I like Gillian as a champion. She just gives you a lot of card advantage and lets you start seeing a lot of cards early. I definitely want to mess with this deck going forward, and I think it does have a place in the format. I think it matches up against the 2 or 3 best decks right now really well. That's basically it. Thank you for watching. Again, remember to follow us, like us on Facebook, and remember, if the day ends in Y, we're gaming.